literally made business cards. I literally walked door to door. Like that is the first thing I did. And I know that like it works, it works for people. So I explained myself door to door, said kind of what I was doing for people. I would start, with a very small package logo design. I think it was web design, nauseatingly cheap. Like I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Let's blow this up.
Look alive, Bomb Squad, because it is time once again for another installment of Let's Blow This Up. It is Season 1, Episode 6, and I am your host, Jason Sircone. I hope you love what you've been hearing in this season so far, because I loved bringing it your way. Today, the good conversations continue to roll because I am joined by none other than Cassie Brkich, the founder of the Brkich Design Group. Today, Cassie is going to share with you why you need to be methodical and strategic in how you grow your brand. And the reason why this subject is so important is because we live in a world where we expect everything to just happen. Drop of a dime, snap of a finger, immediacy, right? We're so consumed with getting results right now, today, 5 minutes ago, that we forget that there's a journey that takes place and there's a lot that we're going to learn through that methodical growth. And as we continue to grow, we continue to get better at what we do, and it makes things come together much more naturally and much more powerfully as we continue down the road. Cassie is going to share how she's done that with her business, as well as some tips on how to get out of creative ruts. And we also have a little spiel about Seinfeld. So again, keeping up with the theme of talking about TV on some of these episodes, I hope you're here for it because it was a damn good time. Cassie and I recorded this episode the day after the Super Bowl. And despite both of us having Super Bowl hangovers, I think we had a pretty damn good conversation, which is one of the great things I love about this podcast is it was so natural and organic. And it's the biggest reason why I love this unscripted environment that Let's Blow This Up is unfolding under. I could sit here and talk about that all day, but I'm not going to because you're here for a reason and it's to hear from Cassie. So I'm going to step aside and let you get to it. This is Season 1, Episode 6 of Let's Blow This Up, featuring none other than Cassie Brkich of Brkich Design Group. Let's blow this up. So, Cassie, I know that when we first talked, and it's funny that we're coming together to record this episode, we're both talking about our Super Bowl hangovers, whether they're alcohol-induced or not. I know we're both a little groggy as we come together for this, but the last time we spoke, you told me you're a big fan of Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, I think I quoted it. I quoted a Seinfeld, and
I was so proud.
Knocked you out of your chair.
Yeah, I knew I had the right person coming on the podcast when you started quoting Seinfeld without being prompted.
Yeah, so. And I think it's probably a lot to do with my husband and his friends. They speak in quotes. They don't have any actual conversation. So I do like Seinfeld. I definitely have watched it on my own, but I pick up a lot of things in their conversations.
Yeah, I know that. I think I told you I would get along real well with your husband because that's how me and my friends to this day, whether it's Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, you name it. There's a show on that we know the lines to or a movie. Yeah, constantly pulling constantly pulling quotes. So before we dive into what we're here for today, let's eradicate a little bit of this Super Bowl hangover and talk a bit about Seinfeld. And this is a question I like to ask every Seinfeld fan because it's much like when I was talking with Stacy Scavo about The Office, this is very polarizing. In regards to Seinfeld, what were your thoughts on the final episode?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me to think back so many years.
I am.
I really?
1998.
Wow, and that was college. That's real cruel of you. I don't remember that.
That was high school for me.
Well, let's talk about the age difference then, I guess. Want to talk about something else polarizing?
Well, you know the premise, right? I mean, the basic. You want a refresher? I can give you the broad strokes. Basically, they were arrested for not helping a guy who was getting robbed, and they had to go to court.
Law.
And they brought the Good Samaritan law, and then they brought back all of the old characters.
People.
And so spoiler alert, they ended up getting convicted. So yeah, if you've never watched the last episode of Seinfeld, A, we can't be friends. B, I just spoiled it. So Cassie, your
Spoiled it,
thoughts?
but they had plenty of years. I think shows like that, you kind of have to do that sort of thing, even though it might be like a jump the shark kind of situation. People want to see all those people that they've like grown to know and love, and oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
forgot about that guy. I forgot about that character. So I think it feels a little contrived sometimes, but also it really does make the viewers happy, I think.
Yeah, I think the overall consensus was that it really pissed people off. I looked at it from the standpoint of what did you want them to do? How did you want this
Yeah.
series to wrap up? It was a show about nothing. No learning, no hugging. This was a show that was just there to have ridiculous scenarios put in front of you week after week. How are they supposed to do some sort of thought out, well curated storyline to end it? I think it was great. Bring everybody back, give you one more
Yeah.
taste of all the characters. They sort of get their comeuppance by getting their year jail sentence for everything that they've done wrong to people over the years. And they almost set it up to where you think they might come back when they set up the teaser of what in a year we'll be back. And
Right.
they kind of did that with the season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they did the reunion special, which was awesome.
Hmm.
Which, as a fan of both shows, getting to see that play out was everything you could possibly ask for. But yeah,
Yeah.
my take on it has always been that it was good. Just
I
maybe
think so too. I think people's expectations are a little too high for that kind of stuff,
yeah.
but you get to know these characters. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gilmore Girls and The Office, and you want to see those reunion shows, especially now that everybody's streaming. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's a little shocking. It's a little jarring as they age. It's a little, but you have to touch on all those things that people want you to wrap up with a pretty little bow. What are you supposed
Yeah,
to do?
exactly. I'm a fan of things that end the right way. I mean, you can't open the jar twice. I don't even know if that's a
Hmm.
saying. I'm
Hmm.
making it up as we go. This is Super Bowl grogginess talking. I don't
Open
know
the
if you
jar
could,
twice. I love it.
right? Like, I don't know if there's a way that you're going to be able to ever recapture that magic again.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you did it
No.
once, it was great, embrace
Mhm.
it, and then move on. But if you're trying
Yeah.
to recapture it, it's usually never going to live up to the expectations you've set.
Absolutely. You're so right. I mean, like I said, we've got The Office. What do they call them? I keep calling them
The super
supersized episodes.
super fan
Super
episodes,
fan.
yeah.
I was like, I know they're not called that because my kids make fun of me every time I say it. But yeah, it's like, yeah, like you get to see these characters again. You get to see these funny little sneak peeks that you never saw before. You feel like you're behind the scenes.
Hmm.
Move on. Like they're great. You laugh and you get to love the characters all over again. Like you can't set these huge expectations.
Yeah, I think to some degree, I think The Office has broke some ground because I don't know any other series that's ever done what they're doing with these superfan episodes and giving you this look of what the show could have been if they would have
Right.
left these scenes in. It's pretty cool. I think that's something we should all be happy to have at our disposal. I'm waiting for shows like Parks and Recreation to do the same thing.
I showed you this last time, didn't I? Did I show you this? Can you see it forward or backwards? I don't
Nice.
know.
No, I see it now. That's awesome. No, you did not show me that. I
Ron
need one.
Swanson. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And while we're at it, I think I have, somewhere on my desk, I have a Leslie notebook. I can't find it right now.
beautiful.
But yeah, no, I think that's the thing is that streaming is new. I mean, all of this stuff is new. So, for them to do something brand new, I mean, they're still innovating. They're still doing something for the first time,
Mhm.
ahead of their competition, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely. Listeners in the Bomb Squad know once we get on these subjects, we could be going on and on for days, as past
Eat it.
episodes have indicated and shown us. But we're here for a reason today, and obviously, Cassie, you're a great addition to season 1 of Let's Blow This Up. I'm so happy to have you with us today because you have done tremendous things in the design world, starting Brkich Design almost, I don't want to say by accident, but it was something that you most likely, at least based on what I know, you weren't totally expecting to walk down this path. But all these years later, you've been able to bring this brand along and transform it into something truly remarkable. So you have a lot to teach us today. We're going to talk about that methodical growth and doing things the right way, starting small, not trying to shoot the moon on your very first day of operations. Before
Mm-hmm.
we dive into all of that with you today, Cassie, give us some insight on who you are and all the great things that you've done and how your work is changing the world.
Oh, that was quite the intro. Thank you
Setting the
so
bar
much.
high, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. Is super exciting again, post Super Bowl grogginess, but I'm going to do it. As you alluded to, I started the business. It's going to be 19 years this year. walked into the office at my corporate downtown Pittsburgh job on a Monday morning and found out a half an hour later they let go the whole entire creative department. So the media, all the designers, all the creatives, all the graphic designers lost their jobs, on a Monday morning, which was super fun. Everybody's all upset. And I immediately call my husband. I'm like, guess what just happened? I lost my job. And I was so excited because I knew at that point I had already had, one freelance client that was pretty consistent. It was a monthly magazine. So I had something to go off of. And I knew, let me just take this client, build from this client and start my business tomorrow, which I think I talked to you about last time. That's why it's Brkich Design Group. You don't have to register with the state, I believe, naming wise, if it's named after your name. So I was like, let's go with that so I can start tomorrow. And I just started the next day. So we have been working with small businesses for, again, 19 years on web design and development, logo design, kind of full brand creation. I get so used to saying logo design because people don't understand what branding is. So you know what I mean? Branding as a whole, not just logo design. And then we do some, kind of marketing calendars, marketing strategy for clients and things like that. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been so interesting to see this develop and grow over the last, 19 years, and just really excited to see what's next.
Talk to that while we're on the subject, because I
Mhm.
think it's very important to define the difference because I know that even in my own practices, sometimes you can get lost in the muck and you get stuck with this branding is just what your logo is, right? But
Mhm,
no,
mhm,
it runs
mhm.
so much deeper than that. So give us the differences between the logo design and maybe as a whole, the entire aesthetic that your brand is putting out there from an appearance standpoint versus what overall branding is.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the simplest way to describe branding to people is that branding is what people think of you already. And it's kind of a weird kind of messing with your mind situation, because it really is. It's what you have out there in the world that people think when they think about you. So that is everywhere from your logo design to your messaging to how people describe you to just every aspect of your creative, physical creative, and your messaging and the content that people kind of describe you as. So it's really everything. But it's funny because when we use SEO, when we think about how we're going to talk about what we do use the word logo design a lot because that's what people look up when they're looking for what we do. So we typically say, what do you need? And they're like, I need a logo. I'm like, well, tell me your problems, tell me your goals, tell me what you're running into. And typically they don't just need a logo, they need an entire, just an entire brand, review, development, and everything.
When you've dove in with clients on that and really and starting with the logo, what have you done to make them realize, look, this is just a piece of the puzzle? How do
Mhm.
you push them down that path and say you also need to do A, B, C, and D in order to tie this all together?
That's a tough one because people come to you for a logo, and first of all, they realize how expensive it is. So that's already something that we're having to battle against. But we typically go to kind of what's your history? Tell us about your business. We want to learn about you. We don't dive in with the difficult questions. And then we get to what are your goals right now? What are your struggles right now? What are you hitting against? Who's your target? And then we have to constantly remind them. I know you like pink, but your target is men. So maybe we just think about that. And so we just you kind of have to ask questions that don't like hurt their feelings, that remind them what the goal is, remind them what the target is, and then they kind of start to see it for themselves, like, oh, it's not just something that I like, it's something that's actually practical and doing the job for you. So every time you put a bad, or not bad, but just, unaligned logo out there and unaligned branding out into the world, you're having to describe yourself over and over and over again. And those are the same people that gravitate towards, showing and telling. Basically, one of our designers here at Brkich Design Group, Amy, she always says, show or tell, not both. So it's like you don't have to say I'm a plumber and have a pipe in your logo. You can have one or the other, and you don't need both, basically. So people will gravitate toward the obvious icon or the obvious name of their business because they're afraid they can't do the job with branding. So that's one of the things that we try to convince them of. Like, here's ways that we can do that job without having to in your face have a pipe so that you can describe that you're a plumber.
Something that I've noticed about branding, and it's my own with Bombtrack Media, the more that you get into it, and Alexandra Watkins and I talked about this on a previous episode here in season 1 of Let's Blow This Up, about all of the different permutations or just new spin-offs and things that come from a good brand name and having that good brand image and having that consistency across the board. Like, for example, when we were talking, we named my podcast studio the Bomb Shelter, and it was not something that was thought about or premeditated. It just came to my head as we were talking about how she had a client who had done all of these things based off the branding that she had put into the world. She was able to do all these little spin-offs and everything tied together. To me, I feel like not only does it get more customers and clients invested in your brand, but you personally, the more strong your branding is, the more in love you fall with it. That's how I felt with mine. What has your experience been in that capacity?
Oh, I think that is so true. I mean, and like I said, it takes a good agency to get that client there. So if they come to you for a specific thing and you end up with something completely different, it's to have them love that process and to understand that process so that they do love it, even if it's not exactly what they thought it would be, or it's completely different than what they thought it was going to be. But so we try to educate, along the way, every step of the way. We have a lot of like one-to-ones with our clients like this, presentations where they're live. And then we do little videos all the time when we're sending them something. Instead of typing up a question, we'll send them a video so that they can hear our voice and hear, our excitement towards it, or our explanation of it. And it's just getting them, like I said, getting them to the end alongside of you so that you don't feel like you're fighting someone. You're holding hands, walking down the road together and understanding why you got to where you are. So I think, having them love it is so important, and having them feel special along the way makes them love it in the end. So a lot of our process along the way is really customized, and yeah, they just feel really special. Even our proposals, people will say, your proposal is beautiful. Like, that's really awesome. And then I'll do a video review of our proposal so that I can walk through it for them so that when they're reviewing it, they can hear what hear what I was going for. And that just, hold their hand and make them feel understood and special, and, get them to the end with you so that, they understand just as much as you do.
You just nailed something absolutely perfect. And it slightly touches on branding, but I think it speaks more so to your branding and your communications. It's that video element. It's 2024. One day after the Super Bowl, as we sit and record in 2024, Chiefs pulled off a ridiculous win for those that don't watch football.
Spoiler alert, number 2.
Yeah, right. We're just dropping spoilers and bombs left and right here. We live in a world where this communication capability is right there. Why more people don't take advantage of it? And you know what? I'm thinking about, even as I've gotten Bombtrack Media off the ground, some of the messages that I've sent in old meme, I'm immediately, a couple of them, I'm going, why didn't I do a video? Why didn't I do a video on that one? Because it would have been so much more dynamic. But I just think it speaks to that overall TLC that you're putting into how you present your solutions to a client, how you're going to be in their corner. And when you can hear somebody and see somebody physically saying this is what's going to be done versus just reading an email, which is something that I think has become more habit than anything. We just gravitate to that because that's what we've been doing for so long. But video has so much power. And that's why I look at podcasting, how it's evolved over the years, the video aspect. We may have people in the Bomb Squad watching us on YouTube right now and getting more from this podcast because of it. Yeah. Hi guys. And that's something that I feel is so powerful in today's world that it's hard to overlook that, because you can put so much strength in your own brand, but at the same time impact other brands just on a completely new dynamic level.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we say all the time is meet the clients where they are. So you're meeting your customers where they are, whether they're on a podcast, they're on YouTube, they're in an email, on your website, however they want to view your podcast. I think that you have to be accessible to them. And I think a lot of the times people hesitate, people of course hesitate to do video because it makes them feel uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the better you feel. I mean, I don't always do a full face of makeup when I'm getting on a video. I'll just be like at a cafe on the street and there's traffic in the background. Sorry for the noise. I just wanted to pop into your email and explain this to you. And it just gives a more casual approach. It makes people kind of a little less hesitant to try it for themselves. A lot of the times we use Loom as well, which allows them to respond back via video. I'm sure a lot of other platforms, but that's nice because then they can heart it. They can leave us a comment. They can leave us their own video, or they could just reply to the email. It's kind of like whatever makes you feel comfortable.
I agree. Loom's a great service. I've used Bonjoro in the past. Also allows the same type of response and just the fact that you're taking the time to reach out. And I will say, I look at this from the podcasting standpoint, from the video creation standpoint. It's all about the practice swings. The more reps you put in, the more comfortable you're going to get. You're going to get over those initial fears. It just takes time and it just takes repetition. And eventually you're going to find your voice. And there's no reason that you have to sound like the greatest radio or television personality in the world in order to convey your message. You just have to be yourself and be authentic. And that's going to ring through when you send those videos. And that could be from sending a proposal to a client to just putting something on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, whatever platform you're playing on. So much value in this. Cannot be overlooked.
It's so true. And I will tell you, more people that meet me, they don't believe when I say this, but I was terrified to public speak, so much so that I transferred colleges a few times so that I could get away from the public speaking requirement. I never took it in college. I never took it in high school. And when people meet me, they're like, oh, you're so engaging. I'm like, I'm really good one-on-one or one-on-two, but I was never good in front of a room full of people that I couldn't engage back with. Like, so that's still a tricky one for me, but I'm 100% better at it because I've forced myself to do it. I've jumped in front of a room. Does someone want to read this? Yes, I'll do it. I just have thrown myself into the ring many times, and it's gotten so much easier.
I have a funny story about that from college. When I was a communications major, and public speaking was one of the courses that we had to take, and I was looking forward to it. I love that course. It went well. I got an A, but the story I remember was we had to give a speech in front of the class with nothing, no note cards, nothing. We had to basically have it all done in our heads verbatim. And we had to shock and really deliver something powerful. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a little tricky with this. I'm going to deliver my own eulogy. And I put together what ended up being the class going, holy shit, dude, that was great. And I got a B. The teacher gave me a B and picked it apart with it. I'm like, did you not see? I'm
dead over here.
Right? I covered all the criteria. The class loved it. And you're giving me a B. I mean, and she was just like, no, but if you would have done this, and I'm like, did you want me to cry? That's the only thing I think was missing is I couldn't make myself cry on cue. But
deliver it from a coffin. Maybe that's what you wanted.
Maybe I was missing that element. It's just one of the funny stories when I think back because
that's
overall I learned a lot in that class, and I'm the same, Cassie. I have no problem getting in front of people, and I one time I was tasked. It was just out of nowhere. I had done a podcast recording with the lead singer of Coheed and Cambria. This is back when I was in my beer days, and one of the breweries I worked with did a collaboration beer with that band as they came into Pittsburgh, and they let the radio station that was sponsoring let me do a podcast with them. Like, this is so cool. Well, then we went to the after event and they made me go up on stage and introduce the band because the band came and no one knew they were coming. They're like, do you want to do it? I'm like, hell yeah, give me that microphone. So I got in front of everybody and got to introduce Coheed and Cambria. It was awesome. But those are the things I like. That's the thing. I mean, there's that old adage that, and this goes back to Seinfeld, where he says that he has that whole bit about the fact that the number one fear in the world is public speaking. Number two is death, which means that for the average person, they'd rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy.
Exactly. What is wrong with that? There's something real messed up.
I know. And on past podcasts that I've done, I've had conversations with people about that very subject and the fact that it's just something that you have to get over it in your mind. You have to understand that. And this, I'll loop this back to what we're talking about today is you're developing your brand and you're putting these messages out there. It's all about the authenticity piece. It's trying to do what you do on a daily basis and project that to the person who might be viewing it or listening to it on a podcast, and not doing it in a way where you're trying to overpromise or be somebody that you're not, because when you do that, you get exposed. And when that happens, it all unravels. So you have to be
how much harder is it?
Oh, absolutely.
How much harder is it to be somebody else?
Well, and especially if you project this image of maybe some wacky, crazy guy that's our prices are insane and you're just going nuts on the video. But then when you get into the actual sales call where you're one-on-one and you're a different person, that's terrible. That never works.
Same as branding. We tell people all the time. I mean, this is going to be an interesting tangent kind of, but it's same with branding. If you show your logo this way, and then you show it a different way with a different color or stretched or turned sideways, it's like you're branding two separate businesses. Every time you do something differently, you're spending time and energy and effort to brand a business that doesn't feel authentic, doesn't feel like the same business. So you might as well be branding two separate businesses. You're wasting time and money, and who wants that?
Absolutely. No, again, with where we are in the world, this is why with the podcasting work that I do and how I'm helping people develop that voice, that's to me one of the key elements. It's finding what that voice is, but then pushing forward in a way that we're not trying to stretch too far and go beyond the brand that you're building. Because again, if you do that, you're out there in no man's land, and it can be hard to rein yourself in. And then again, when you get in front of a customer and you're not that person, their trust is shattered and they're not going to want to
I
do
have to
business
be
with you.
honest, I am guilty of this too. You try to make it too difficult, or to try to sound too professional, or to like be this other business. Oh, this is what my competition's doing. I'm trying to do that.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I do all of those things, but just recently one of our team members took one of a few of our video calls that I used for me describing one of our products to a client, and she watched four or five of them, and she took notes, and she literally wrote pain points. She wrote the way I described it, and like none of that matched what we were saying about it, or what we were putting on our website, or what we were putting out in the product page. And it just is, it was eye opening. It's like, why don't I just say what I normally say in
Mhm.
all of these places, instead of just one on one with the client, so that nobody else gets to hear it? It's really interesting. So back to the video component, maybe it is video recording your calls, or video explain your product or your service to a friend just over Zoom, and then watch it back
Yes.
and then take notes.
That's a very
We're
good
gonna
point, Cassie.
transcribe. This is the 21st century.
Well, yeah, there's so much you can do with it, but I think that practice element, going back to the practice swings, a point that I like to make, and this goes beyond marketing and everything you're doing to build your brand. Not everything you do needs to be put on the internet.
Yeah.
You can do things, record them, and not put them out there for public consumption, and use them
Yeah.
to learn yourself. So if you do take
Yep.
time to reach out to a friend and say, listen, I need 5 minutes, just tell me how
Oh my
this
god.
sounds. I'm
Yeah.
going to record it over Zoom. And then you have that to work off of. No one
Mhm.
else has to know that's out there. That's for
Yep.
you and that's for your benefit. That way, you know, when you do get into that public realm, you're doing it the right way, in a way that's going to convey a powerful message that people want to interact with.
You know, it's funny. I was in Facebook the other day, and I was looking in my groups, right? So, because we all have like hundreds of groups we've collected, and we're like, what are all these groups?
Mm-hmm.
And I have this group that my friend Jen and I, she's a business owner out of Boston. And we had created this group called Jen and Cassie Take on the Internet, or something like that, like something funny, where we just literally set up this Facebook group so that we could create videos in there and practice being on live, on video. And because
Mm-hmm.
I think we were both invited to do something, we were both kind of nervous about it. And this was years ago. So it was like literally one of the first times. And
Yeah.
we just would, get on there, like, hey, can you jump in a live call real quick? Let's test the live. Let's see how that works. And we just practiced. And that was a fellow business owner friend of mine. So find a buddy. It works.
I like live, and I know I would probably get some pushback on this, but going live, there's no safety net. So you're practicing on the fly. And it's one of
Mhm,
those things too,
mhm.
where if you just sort of self-deprecate and realize, you know what, I'm going to probably
Yeah,
F up a little bit here. That's okay.
yeah,
You get over it.
yeah.
People move
Call it
on. It's
out.
like people are too consumed with their own stuff sometimes to even give a damn that you messed up a line here or a line there. It's just
And it makes
a
people feel
fleeting
so much
moment,
better.
right?
They're
Like
messing up.
learn from your mistakes, fall down and
Yeah.
get back up. We did that as babies. Why are we so scared to do it now?
We'd all be laying on the ground still if we wouldn't have. So,
Seriously, or
yeah,
swaddled in a blanket.
that
That
doesn't sound bad, actually.
sounds really good right now, right?
We should not have tried again.
Oh man. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, Cassie. I want to get back to how you built your brand. So, as you said, when you first started, it was you had one freelance client, you got rolling from there, and just over time you developed it. And I think there's value in starting small, because again, you were doing this at a different time, way before where we are with this immediacy. We have to have everything right now. It's this on-demand world. I should have had these results yesterday. I started a podcast. Why don't I have a million listeners? Blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about the value of starting small and what you can
Yeah.
do as you grow. And as you do, you're on this journey where you can learn so much, and it's not just about the destination. Walk us down that path and how that worked for you.
Absolutely. So it was 2005 when I started. So we've got, quite a few years ago. And I actually was showing some of my team members the other day. I have, kind of like sentimental files and stuff that I don't want to get rid of, because I like to look through them and I like to remember where I started. But
Yeah.
again, 2005. I didn't have a website. The first thing I did was a business card, which, I still like print. Of course, print lives on somewhere over there. I still like print, but yeah, I literally made business cards. I literally walked door to door. Like that is the first thing I did. And I know that like it works, it works for people. So I explained myself door to door, said kind of what I was doing for people. I would start, with a very small package logo design. I think it was web design, nauseatingly cheap. Like I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? But yeah, it was just me. I worked myself for, I think it was 8 or 9 years, just me. It was called Brkich Design. I added the group because I had already built all this equity and, this brand equity, and I didn't want to get rid of the name. And I think I talked about it with you before. I thought many times about getting rid of the name. I still do. but yeah, I started with just me for 8 or 9 years, started building a team. First person that I hired was a designer that I had this one client that there was already a lot of, margin. The job got to be pretty easy. They were paying pretty well. So I knew that job would be easy to kind of pass off to someone. And it was regimented enough for the person to learn it pretty easily. And it was every quarter. So it knew it was not just a one-off thing. But that was scary, trusting someone to do something I had been working on for years by myself. But I hired her. And then from there, started hiring operations people and people to help build the business. Again, super scary because those people are not billable. And then we just built the team from there, and I got to the point where I was like, I have to hire people better than me. I could either be in this business every day, learning and growing and being the best designer in the world, the best creative, the best developer in the world, or I can hire people better than me and actually build the business because I can't do both. Now, some people, I have a lot of friends that, they stay as lead designer, they stay as creative director, and they build the business. That just wasn't my path because I always felt I was very right and left brain, very kind of down the middle. And my entire life, I saw it as a negative. I really did. I'm not the best designer. I'm not the best, analytical thinker, business person, financial, whatever. But I realized I have both. And that makes me special and different. And, I can really go into that and kind of lean all in. So I've got people helping me on the business owning side. I got people helping me on the design side. And, I'm building the business like I should be because it's my job.
But you did, and I think the important point for everyone to realize is that you did that at the right time. It wasn't like the first day, okay, we're in business. Second day, oh my God, I got to hire this person, this person, this person. No, like you took the time to build that brand equity, as you said. And once that brand equity had reached a point where you knew that the work that you were doing could not be handled by you and you alone, that was when it was time to start bringing in the right people. And again, I think we live in a world where we are constantly seeing everyone's highlight reel. We're seeing everybody's successes because that's what gets posted online. No one is seeing the failures. No one is seeing the going door to door in the trenches, having those conversations, trying to get over what we're doing to somebody. Yesterday, as I said, as we're recording this, it's a day after the Super Bowl, and me and my brother-in-law were sitting on his deck having a cigar before the game, and we were just talking about a bunch of stuff. And we were talking about how a lot of people have this mentality of thinking about the next thing before they're ready to make that leap. And they put themselves in a position where they're immediately bored with what they're doing and they need to move on to the next thing, or they're trying to scale so fast. And to get to that position, I think you have to think about everything, and that includes the time in the trenches. And that was my response to him talking about that. The people that we see that have reached those points of success, much like yourself, Cassie, you spent years in the trenches, and that's the work that doesn't get seen. To me, that's the work that needs to be appreciated. And I think more people are going to experience success if they start appreciating it on that level.
And I wish I could, kind of print out the vision that I have in my head, because I remember the days. I started again in 2005. My first child was born in 2007. And I remember thinking, okay, I've just built this thing for 3 years. And I remember thinking, I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have waited till later. I wish this is not the right time. Thank God I did. I never would have done it. I do not know how people are doing it when they're just having a baby and starting out a business. I give so much props. And then the single moms, forget it. Anyway, I remember I have this vision of me at my desk, the entire room my daughter has control over. I literally, instead of baby gating her, I baby gated myself. So I had this little circle baby gate around my desk. So she couldn't because I had a tower. So she couldn't press the button. She couldn't turn off my computer, that kind of thing. And then she had the rest of the room. And I was literally in the gate. So it is this hilarious thing I think about all the time where I'm like, I'm just building this business in this 4 foot space. And she has the rest of this 20 feet of room. And I'm like, this is not right.
It's like your own little mini Thunderdome.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, who's in charge here? Not me.
Yeah, from the outside perspective, right, outsider's perspective, they're probably looking at that saying something's backwards here. Creating engaging, explosive content that positions your brand as an authority and go-to resource in your industry doesn't need to be complicated, stressful, or time-consuming. All you need is a strategy that sets you up for success and a partner to keep you on the right track. This is my mission at Bombtrack Media. I'll show you the most efficient way to produce brand-elevating content that can be utilized throughout your digital footprint, all done with your goals and busy schedule in mind. You're not a full-time podcaster. Why commit to a full-time podcaster's schedule? It's time for you to blow this up and rethink how you grow your brand. Visit bombtrackmedia.com today to learn more.
Yeah, this is not right. But I'm like, you know what? I don't need more space than this. I want her to be happy so that I don't have to keep getting up. I can actually focus. I mean, I wasn't a negligent parent for everyone out there freaking out, but it just gave us each our own spaces. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, I didn't share. I don't even know if I had social media then. I don't even know. But that's the kind of stuff that you don't see. You're like, oh, Cassie, she's building a business. Look at her, rock star mom. Like, no, I'm in a literal cage.
Where we lost the value in that, to me, I don't know. I don't have an answer to it. I feel I learn more from someone that is ballsy enough to come forward and say, here's where I fucked up. Here's where something I was doing did not work. To me, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And then when we see that, we can say, okay, they made this mistake. I don't have to make that mistake now. Or I've made that mistake too. I can relate to what they're doing. And what they did was very similar to what I did, or maybe they did something a little different and I can try that too. Versus just seeing that somebody, oh yeah, look at me. I've got 3 Porsches in the driveway and I've got the leather-bound books and Merlin Olsen coming over for dinner 3 times a week. Like, there is so much more value in learning from the failures. That was actually a podcast I was going to do a while back, a few years ago. It was going to be called Forged by Failures. And it was going to be all about these talks. Like, let's talk about the shitty end of the business that might not get a lot of airplay, but really should, because there's so much value to be gained from all of those fall downs. But how you pick yourself back up, that's what's valuable. That's what's going to help somebody else do the same thing.
And let's be honest, it's scary. It's super scary to go out there and be like, this is how I fucked up today and yesterday. It's really scary. But the one piece of advice I would give, and I think the consistent in my business and my career, has been people that you trust, that not necessarily are your spouse or family members, like outside people that really understand what you're trying to build. For me, it's always been other entrepreneurs or other creative business owners. Every stage of my business, I've had a group of people that I trust. I actually just got off a call this morning with 2 designers that they basically have the same exact business as me. The same thing. We could be competitors across the board, but we share everything. We've shared contracts, we've shared proposals, we just talked about our hourly rate this morning. Where there's no secrets, we've learned so much from sharing and being honest with each other than hiding everything and kind of keeping it close to the vest. It just doesn't make any sense. Every single stage I've had a group of women, I think they've all been women actually, that you can truly be honest with. You can truly show your failures to. You're a little embarrassed, it doesn't go away, but you feel safe in that environment. So I think especially for women, it's a little bit different. You don't feel as casual. We worked a long time and worked really hard to get where we are and be more accepted and be more kind of out there. I hate to play that card, but it's true. So I think it is a little bit scary to share our fuck ups publicly, but within a group of people that you trust, I think that's, the next best thing.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'm drawing a parallel to a conversation I had with my daughter yesterday. She was telling me that her and her friends had to cut another friend of theirs loose because this girl was just being a complete jerk to all of them. And they had all gotten tired of it. And she was telling me the story about how they had that conversation. She said, Dad, I couldn't even eat breakfast when I woke up in the morning. I was So it was just weighing on me so much. But once I had the conversation and it was over, everything felt great. And I was like, exactly. And I was like, that's a lesson you need to carry with you for the rest of your life. Don't keep things bottled up. Deal with the hard issues right when you can. Like, don't let it linger, because if you do, it's just going to eat your insides apart.
Right.
Get that out.
Absolutely. And breaking up with a friend is hard. I've done that before.
Sure.
Breaking up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend is easy. Breaking up with a friend is hard because there's no real reason that you need to break up with a friend, you know?
Right.
But it's hard. I've done it, and good for her. Good for her for doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, you feel bad. I mean, I don't know this other person's story, but from what she was telling me, she was just constantly being mean and cruel to the group. And it's like, yeah, who wants that type of energy in their circle?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. That's real tough. Yeah, good for her.
But yeah, 8th graders making it all come together. So
I got an 8th grade boy. I've got a 10th grade girl. But 8th grade, 8th grade's tough. That is super, super tough on girls. It gets a little bit better in high school, I think.
I think so. I mean, I don't remember a ton from junior high, but I remember it being super awkward and just so much shit was happening. And you're just like, what was going on in this world right now?
My daughter was in COVID. COVID was during those years for her. So she actually missed 7th grade at her school, but then went back in 8th grade, and it was even worse because she felt out of sync with everybody, and she felt like she lost time, and so it's tough. It's a tough time.
Well, you speak very strongly. I mean, what you're saying, and I think the point that we're both driving at is that strength in community. Whether your community is just a few people or you have a plethora of people that you can turn to, having that community is strong. I think of the podcasting community, and it's much like what you were talking about with the fellow designers that you work with. I always feel like podcasters just naturally think collaboration first. We're not thinking competition. Every one of us is trying to build something where we impact our audience, and when we welcome others into this platform as well, our audience is impacted by what they have to say. Vice versa, if we go on their shows, everybody's looking for the best way to work together to build up this major platform that has become incredibly powerful in the world, but still has so far to go in regards to growth. But if we're all at each other's, like, oh, you can't talk about that, I talked about that on my show. Like, what the hell? Like, what fun is that? What
no, you can actually link to each other, to each other, and then share the audiences. Community is one of my core values, number one, probably. It's so important in every aspect of my life, from where I shop to where I live to the people I associate with. It is my number one favorite thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Cassie, as we get ready to wind things down today, tell us what you've done and some things that we can do if we get stuck in a rut creatively.
Oh, that's such a good question. One of my favorite books is Big Magic. I don't know if you've ever read that, by Elizabeth Gilbert.
I have not.
I highly recommend it. Everybody should read it. But the basic premises of the book is that everybody's creative. Is that you grow up, you get to like age 12 or something, and you're like, oh, I can't draw anymore. I'm not creative. And then you just give up and you don't do anything creatively. And it just talks about how ideas are born and how, ideas grow and transfer to other people and things like that. And that book is really, really good. I read it about once a year because that's inspiring to me. But I think you just have to try new things. I have I don't even want to call it really a bucket list, but I do have kind of like a bucket list of entertaining things and just different things that you can try to get out of a rut. Just different experiences. I kind of pretend like I have my own like radio show or like blog or something, and then I have to try new things so that I can share it with my audience. And I do stuff like that all the time, like from going to like one of those float places or to a salt cave or to doing an art class or just taking a walk in a new neighborhood or somewhere different. A friend and I went to the city last week, to Pittsburgh, and we just stayed in a different part of the city. And I went to places I never ate at before, new coffee shops. And the next day I walked around all by myself. I met like a ton of new people. Pittsburgh is a friendly ass city. I tell you what, they are really friendly. What
day did you do that?
It was Monday night to Tuesday.
Monday night. Okay. I was doing the same thing Wednesday.
Were you? Oh, hilarious. See, ideas transfer.
Well, I had a meeting on Wednesday morning, and I decided to take the train down, and I worked in the city that day. And I feel like I'm going to start doing that at least once a week. It just this new energy that I felt being around different people at the coffee shop I was at. I went and had lunch, and I just kind of wandered around a little bit. And it's just new. It was new energy, but it felt so good to be part of it. I feel like it's something that I want to do more.
And I'm like, I'm not the kind of person that I'm actually really bad at social media, even though we do marketing. But I just wanted to document my day because I was having an interesting day. And it's like sometimes it's hard to see, okay, I'm sitting at my desk today. It's really interesting. But just meeting new people. I went down to the Joinery Hotel. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've ever
I
been
know where
there,
that's at.
but yeah, super nice, like really, really cool, inspiring place. Just like I said, I went to get an Italian sub, like at this small little like dive bar kind of thing. I'm like, but it was the best sub, and the guy was so nice, and it was just really inspiring.
Yeah.
My friend, the reason why I went down, my friend went to the Madonna concert on Monday night, so
Okay.
she was getting an Airbnb and said, "Do you want to go with me?" I wasn't the least bit jealous that she's off to Madonna, and I'm just sitting and hanging out in this Airbnb and not going to Madonna because it was just a new experience. I was excited to have the night to myself and great city views, and yeah, it was just super awesome.
Yeah.
But I know all those things I mentioned cost money, but the walking around does not.
All right.
Go see a new view overlooking something, get a hike, do a hike that you've never done before. Just
Yeah.
try something new. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I think so. It's something as simple as just getting some fresh air can spark
Yeah,
creativity. And typically
get
that's
out of your routine.
right. And I think,
Mhm.
especially with the world that we're living in now, thanks to COVID, I think we got more indoctrined into this being chained to our desk in our homes, and working
Mhm.
from the remote office has just become much more commonplace that sometimes we don't think about the fact that our bodies need that fresh air. We need that vitamin D from the sun. We need to be out and about. And just
Yeah.
that motion of getting your blood flowing, that can trigger
Mhm.
some pretty big ideas. So that's what I've
Yeah.
done. I mean, I typically try to do my gym workouts in the morning, but if for some reason I don't because of meetings or whatever, if I'm feeling stuck creatively, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go lift for an hour or hit the treadmill or
Yeah.
something just
Yeah.
to get my brain into a better creative space. You
The more
fall
you
into the
blur
same rut.
those
Yeah, you're stuck.
Yeah, I think it's the blurred lines that are the issue. The blurring the lines between your personal life and your family life with your work life. It's so difficult to think clearly in either of those worlds. So, if you're checking your email while you're walking through the kitchen, you're not really on any task. So even just
Right.
playing a game with your kids or sitting down and reading a book in the living room and not being on your phone or checking your email, just being in the moment, that really gets me out of my head and into creative thinking.
Yeah, and something that I've done in the past and unfortunately gotten away from, but making myself get back to, is a disconnection day or a blackout day.
Oh, it's great.
No work. Go do something you love. And
Mhm.
that could be anything. Like for me, I'm thinking about, like, I made a list of between going for a float session, just going
Fun.
and sitting with a book and
Yeah.
being outside, going and playing some poker at the casino,
Yep.
whatever. Like there's things that I love to do. And it's like my business is not going to fall apart and go away because I took
No.
this one day to recharge my batteries. And if anything,
Yeah.
I'm going to come back even better tomorrow
Yeah.
because I took that time. We have to
I,
get to
I
that
think
level.
I think that's the important part is that realize too, and I think this is good advice for people that are starting out, is that you can make your business whatever you want. You
Mhm.
think in the beginning, and of course you have to, there's bootstraps, all of that
Sure,
stuff.
sure, sure.
You have to put in the work. I totally understand that.
Mhm.
But you can say your hourly rate is what you want. You can say your hours are what you want. You can say that you only work certain ways. You can do whatever you want. It's your business. So I think you feel like you have to give yourself permission. You have to get to a certain level until you permit yourself to take Mondays off or you permit yourself to not take client calls on one day a week. You could
Mhm.
do that anytime you want. I mean, of course you have to, make some sacrifices as you're building, but I think that's one thing I've learned. I really only do client calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's always a CEO day, like a me day. I focus on business building stuff, and Monday is stuff like this that I want to do. I mean, I think have the same kind of schedule, so it
Yeah.
worked out. But I mean, I think that's the thing is that you can make it whatever you want. You do not have to chain yourself to something that you think other people are expecting.
100%. I think time blocking is enormous. My calendar,
Mhm.
some people might look at that and go, well, that is the template of a madman because I've got appointments
Yeah,
here and
me too.
blocks here and tasks there. I mean, but if I know how to look at it and say,
Mhm.
okay, here's where I'm doing my podcast creation time. These are the
Mhm.
times where I would schedule a new consultation or even a sales call or some type of consultation with somebody that might be an existing client. Here's where my creative time is, where I'm editing or I'm creating videos, whatever. Again, you structure it in a way that fits your world. And when you
Yeah.
actually discipline yourself to stick to that schedule, that's when you'll start
Mhm.
seeing some serious results. And then you can start taking those strides
Mhm.
towards, okay, here's a day where I don't have anything planned. This is a day for me. I'm going to go golfing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Imagine
Something,
that.
you're right. instead of just
And then you
saying,
can be flexible. You
yeah,
spend, and I
absolutely.
think that the amount of time it takes to do the time blocking, it takes a little time to get into that schedule and to actually create that schedule. But
Yeah.
once you do it, then you're in it and you're actually able to be creative in your day. And you're not having to be like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. What do I do at 11:30? You
Yeah.
already know. So I think it does give you a lot more freedom and a lot more creative space.
I will give 2 recommendations before we wind everything up today in regards to time blocking. The first is to pick up the book, The One Thing, by
Hmm.
Gary Keller, Jay Papas. I was like, these names can't escape me. I've said those names so many times, but pick up that book. Not only is it a great book about time blocking and how to actually put that into your world, but it talks about narrowing down everything that you do to the one thing. It's very on the nose with the title. And
Hmm.
2 is to start small. Block out half an hour to an hour each day and do something productive, creative that is going to serve you and your brand, and discover how much efficiency that brings into your life and how much you can actually accomplish in that time frame. And if you do 1 hour 5 days a week, after the week is over, you've done 5 hours of uninterrupted work on something extremely important in your business. You're going to see how much progress you've made. You're going to say, whoa, this is a
Yep.
game changer. And that's how you'll start to plot out the recipe. Because once you sell yourself on how powerful this is, sky's the limit.
And especially when you can put things off. So if you're checking your email and there's an email that comes through that's about that time blocking, thing later. Oh, I don't have to think about that right now. I can think about that later. So it allows you to pin things for later so that you can just move on. And, you already kind of have two time blocks going then. You've got your more free space and then you've got your structured space. So it really does make it a lot easier for sure.
Well, Cassie, as predicted, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I know this is just one of many because I'll have to have you back on the show in the future and we'll do this all over
So
again.
I would
And
love it. Maybe
good.
not after a big, national
After a
event.
good night's rest. Well, I mean, I think we did pretty
Imagine what
damn
I could do.
good considering the Super Bowl fog, but here we are.
Did pretty good. The words were escaping me, but I respected that.
We pulled it all together, and maybe I'm able to edit some of that, and no one else is the wiser.
Well, no.
But I have to say again, thank you so much for bringing your knowledge and insight to the show. Let the Bomb Squad know where they can connect with you and learn more about you and what you do.
So it's BrkichDesign.com, and that is BRKICH. There's one bell. It is an I. That is it. We are Brkich Design on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all of the things. So you can connect with us there and read our blog for more information. We have a ton of freebies on our website, a lot of really good, free content. We like to help. And I will plug one more thing. Our consultations are always free. So if you find something interesting or we can help your business in some way, happy to chat with you and kind of push you in the right direction. Not push, guide.
Guide's a good, yeah, there you go. We can all use a little pushing from time to time. But
yeah, shove you over there.
If you're listening and want to connect with Cassie to take advantage of everything she just laid out for you, I'll make sure I put all the links in the show notes to make life easy for you. Once again, Cassie, thank you so much for joining me here on Let's Blow This Up.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast and a great way to spend, a hangover day.
Likewise.